Welcome to Real Money Dramas. She was gone when I got back from the store. Just her laptop open on the table. I hadn't meant to look. I only reached for it to check my email. But the tab was right there. Open. A message to someone I didn't know. One sentence stood out before I even registered the name. He tries so hard now. All the money comes home. I don't love him, but it's comfortable. He works, I rest. I stared at the screen, blinked, read it again, then again. That was the exact moment something cracked. Quietly, like when you realize a ceiling's been leaking for months, and now your foot's sinking through the floor. But it didn't start like that. Not even close. We met in line at the pharmacy. I remember it was raining, and I offered to share my umbrella. She laughed, not forced, not polite. Just easy. Natural. Like we already knew each other. I gave her a ride home that day. We talked the entire way. She said something about how strange it was to feel comfortable with someone so fast. I thought, yeah, strange. And rare. A few days later, we met again, this time for coffee. Then dinner. Then walking around the city until midnight. She was sharp. Calm. The kind of calm that makes you feel steadier just being near it. She asked questions. Real ones. What do you like about your job? What scares you about getting older? Not small talk, real talk. Like she actually cared who I was, not just how I looked or what I did. I hadn't felt that in years. I'd come out of a long, worn-down relationship 2 years before. I wasn't looking for anything, but this felt different. Safe, but not boring. Familiar, but not stale. By the third week, she was leaving her toothbrush at my place. By the second month, we were grocery shopping together. Nothing felt forced. She'd brew coffee in the morning, hum while folding laundry, tell me to go back to bed when I woke up too early on weekends. She didn't ask for anything, just stayed close. One night, I asked her why she wasn't dating anyone before me. She said she was tired of games. I don't want perfect, she said. I want steady. That word stuck with me. Steady. I'm the kind of guy who pays bills on time, brings the car in for maintenance before the check engine light shows up. I don't make wild promises, but if I say I'll be there, I show up. And she made me feel like that was enough. Like being steady was finally worth something. It's strange, looking back now, how quickly something can turn from real to rotten, and you don't even hear the switch flip. But that came later. First, there was warmth, and the lie that I mistook for love. We moved in together fast, maybe too fast, but at the time, it didn't feel rushed. It felt easy, natural, like two people who knew what they wanted and didn't see the point in waiting. She asked about everything, what I liked for breakfast, what kind of music I listened to when I worked, whether I believed people could change, stuff no one had asked me in years. It felt like she wanted to understand me, not just be around me. She had this way of making the everyday feel intentional. Mornings started with coffee already poured. My shirts were ironed before I even asked. She made jokes about how old school I was, the way I still read the news on paper and left my phone in the hallway at night. But she liked that, or said she did. I started letting my guard down, bit by bit. We didn't talk about the future at first. No big speeches, no promises, just a rhythm. Come home, cook, eat, talk. She listened more than she spoke, but when she did speak, it felt like she meant it. I caught myself thinking, maybe this is what it looks like when something works. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, steady, which, after everything I'd been through before, felt like relief. Then, one night, I asked her to marry me. Not with a ring, not on one knee. Just me in the kitchen, flipping potatoes in a pan, and her scrolling on the couch in sweats. Want to go to the registry next week? I asked. She didn't even blink. Yeah, why not? That was it. No fireworks. No family drama. No Instagram countdown. 1 week later, we were married. 2 witnesses. 15 minutes. We walked out holding coffee cups instead of champagne. And I remember thinking, this is exactly right. No fuss. No pressure. Just us. But things shifted after that. Not in some dramatic way, just small things. She started talking more about the future. Bigger apartment. Better furniture. Maybe a second car. She used words like stability and joint planning. Nothing out of line. Nothing unreasonable. But it felt different. Before, she asked about who I was. Now, she started focusing on what we had. Or what we didn't. I didn't take it as a red flag. I figured she just felt safe now, wanted to build something solid. That's what people do when they settle down, right? I started pushing harder at work, picked up extra shifts, took on some side gigs with a friend who needed help editing content. Weekends became work days, late nights at the laptop. I thought it'd be for a few months, save up, fix the bathroom, maybe start looking for a new place. She was still calm, still quiet, still making lists of expenses, tracking everything in a spreadsheet. I joked about it once, said she could work for the IRS. She didn't laugh. Still, I didn't ask questions. I told myself, she's just practical. That's all. I didn't realize that she wasn't just tracking the numbers. She was tracking me, and I was too busy earning to notice. At first, I thought she was just tired. Less talk in the mornings. Shorter answers. No more sitting next to me on the couch. Now she'd scroll through her phone across the room. Some nights, she went straight to bed without saying goodnight. Said she had a headache or was burned out from work. I didn't push. I figured she just needed space. Everyone burns out sometimes. Maybe I was working too much. Maybe we were both just running on empty. She started spending more time on calls with colleagues. She never had those before, at least not after dinner. Now they were happening at 9 p.m., 10, sometimes even later. She always took them in the other room. Door closed. Calm voice. Then silence. I asked once, not even accusing, just casual, everything okay with work? She nodded, didn't look up. Just internal changes. New people. I'll explain later. She never did. We stopped going out. Stopped cooking together. Her side of the closet got a little neater, like she was packing mentally, even if the bags weren't out yet. No fights. No drama. Just distance. Clean and quiet. There was one night I remember clearly. I came home late from a freelance shoot. She was on the couch, laptop on her knees, earbuds in. She didn't hear me at first. I stood in the hallway and just watched her for a second. She looked somewhere else. Not like someone waiting for me to come home. Not like someone who noticed whether I came back at all. The next morning, I tried to talk. Made her coffee. Sat across from her at the table. Everything good? I asked. She smiled small, polite. Yeah, just tired. That was it. I stopped trying after that. Not out of pride. I just didn't know where to step. Every time I opened a door, there was nothing behind it. No reaction. No questions. Just tired. Still, I kept working. Thought maybe if I brought in more, it would change something. I was earning more than ever, but I felt like I was losing ground. Then one afternoon, I came home earlier than usual. The shoot got canceled. I didn't text her I was on the way. I just walked in. She wasn't there, said later she'd gone to her friends for the evening. The place was clean, quiet. Her laptop was on the table. Open. I only meant to check my email. Nothing else. Then I saw the tab. Email draft. Addressed to someone with a name I didn't recognize. Subject line blank. Just a few short lines. I wasn't even trying to read at first, but the words were right there. He tries so hard now. All the money comes home. I don't love him, but it's comfortable. He works, I rest. I didn't breathe. Just read it again. And again. That was the moment something inside me stopped. I didn't feel rage or heartbreak. Not right away. I just felt done. I didn't slam the laptop shut. Didn't throw it. Didn't call her. I just closed the tab. Sat down. Stared at the wall. She'd been gone maybe an hour. I didn't know where exactly. Said at Liza's in a message earlier. I didn't reply. I didn't move for a long time. Eventually, I stood up, turned off the kitchen light, and laid down on the couch. Clothes still on. No blanket. Just silence. I didn't cry. Didn't get angry. The way you don't yell when you see a building's already burned down. It's over. There's nothing left to save. She came home late. Keys in the door. Soft footsteps. Saw me in the dark and asked, "Why are you sleeping out here?" I said, "Just needed air. I'll go to my mother's for a few days." She paused. "Okay. Everything all right?" I looked at her, really looked, and all I saw was distance. Familiar voice, same face. But whatever had connected us before, it wasn't there anymore. And maybe hadn't been for a while. I nodded. Yeah, just need a break. Next morning, I packed a small bag. Didn't rush. She didn't ask questions. I drove 2 hours to my mother's house. I didn't tell her I was coming, just rang the bell and stood there with a bag in my hand. She opened the door, surprised. "Everything okay?" I said. "Can I stay a few days?" She didn't press, just stepped aside and said, "Room's still yours." That night, I sat on the edge of the bed I slept in as a teenager. Old posters on the wall, drawers still filled with books I hadn't touched in years. I lay down, staring at the ceiling. Didn't turn on music. Didn't check my phone. Silence felt like the only honest thing left. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. I hadn't planned next steps. Just knew I couldn't stay in that apartment another night, pretending things weren't broken. On the third day, she texted me. "Did you read it?" No greeting. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the screen. No rush to reply. No need to. I didn't answer. Just locked the phone and set it face down on the table. There wasn't anything left to say. When someone shows you what they think of you, really think, believe them. I didn't reply to her message. Didn't delete it either. Just left it sitting there, unopened the way you leave something broken on the floor, not because you're hoping it'll fix itself, but because you don't even want to touch it. I stayed at my mother's for another night. She didn't ask anything. She just made tea, left dinner on the table, said goodnight like it was 15 years ago. There's something strange about going back to a place that once held all your problems and realizing it's now the only place that feels quiet. Next morning, I went outside, took the shovel, cleared part of the driveway. Not because it needed it. The sun would have done the job, but I needed to move. Needed to do something with my hands. After lunch, I opened the laptop. Not hers, mine. Same inbox I use for work, bills, random subscriptions. I typed in one word: divorce. Not because I was being dramatic. Not because I wanted to scare her. I just wanted to see what the process looked like. Turns out, it's simple. When there are no kids, no shared property, no fight. Just two people who stopped being a team, and one of them finally noticed. That same afternoon, I went down to the local office, picked up the documents, took them back to the room I grew up in, and filled out the parts one could. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel bad. I felt clear. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't making a decision. It's accepting that the decision made itself, and all you're doing is catching up to it. That night, I got another message from her. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. What was there to talk about? She'd said everything already. Not to me, but about me. And that was the part that mattered. There's a line people cross, and once they do, you can't unhear it. You can't go back and pretend you didn't see the truth when it was written in black and white. I didn't reply. The next morning, I got in the car and drove back to the city. Went straight to the apartment. She was at work. I packed my stuff. Clothes. Camera gear. A few books. I left the key on the counter. No note. No goodbye. Just left. Quiet. Clean. Exactly how she'd made the space feel for weeks. By the time she came home, I was gone. And I wasn't coming back. I moved back into my old room at my mother's house. Temporarily, that's what I told myself. A few weeks, just to figure things out. It was quiet. Too quiet, some days. But at least I wasn't pretending anymore. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not my coworkers. Not my closest friend. I kept going to shoots. Kept delivering edits on time. I smiled when I needed to. Nodded in the right places. No one asked anything, and I didn't offer. At night, I'd sit in the kitchen with a notebook. Not journaling. I'm not that type. I was just making lists. What I owned. What I owed. What I needed to change. Divorce doesn't take your money all at once, but it does strip away your sense of direction. The hardest part wasn't the papers. It wasn't the moving out. It was waking up and realizing how much of my life had been built on someone else's idea of comfort. And I had let it happen, step by step, month by month, thinking I was building something real. She sent one more message. A long one. It said she never meant to hurt me. That she didn't know how to talk about what she was feeling. That she appreciated everything I did. That she wasn't trying to use me. It just ended up that way. I read it once. Didn't reply. Intentions don't erase impact. We had a short call with a lawyer. Just paperwork. No conflict. She agreed to everything. Signed quickly. Said she understood. I think part of her expected a fight. Maybe even wanted one. But I didn't have anything left to argue over. When we hung up, that was it. Legally. Personally. All of it. I didn't block her number. I didn't delete old photos. I just stopped looking. Some nights I'd catch myself wondering if any of it had been real. The early mornings, the late talks, the quiet routines that had felt so solid at the time. But I already knew the answer. It had been real for me. That's what made it sting. It wasn't a scam. It wasn't a game. It was something that started warm and drifted cold, and I kept holding on while she had already let go. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just learning how to live without the weight of trying to make it work for both of us. After the papers were signed, life didn't change in any dramatic way. There was no big release, no sudden relief. It was just quiet. I still worked, still answered emails, still delivered projects on time. I didn't fall apart, but I wasn't rebuilding anything either. I was just getting through the days. One evening, I found myself driving around with no destination. It was almost automatic. Just got in the car and drove. Ended up near a park I hadn't been to in years. I sat there for half an hour, watching strangers walk their dogs, couples sitting on benches, kids running laps around tired parents. Nothing deep, just motion. Life going on, like it always does. That night, I realized something. I wasn't waiting for her to come back. I wasn't hoping for some twist in the story. I wasn't even angry anymore. I just didn't know what to want. I'd spent so long trying to make someone else comfortable that I'd stopped asking myself what I needed. Not wanted, needed. And now, I had no answer. I started going on long walks. Not for fitness, just to think. No headphones, no distractions. Just me, a sidewalk, and some air. Some days, I passed by apartments for rent. I'd slow down, look at the signs, and keep walking. Not ready yet, but almost. My mom didn't say much. She never pressured me to leave or asked for explanations. She just made dinner most nights and kept her own routines. One night, over tea, she said quietly, "You're different. Not worse. Just not trying so hard anymore." She wasn't wrong. Something had shifted. It's not that I stopped caring. I just stopped performing. Stopped pretending I was fine. Stopped trying to be the guy who always has a plan. I didn't have one. And for the first time in years, I was okay admitting that. I started doing little things. Cleaning out old boxes. Selling in used gear. Updating my portfolio. Not to impress anyone, just to clear the space. One morning, I opened my calendar and blocked out 3 days. No work. No calls. Just me. I booked a small cabin up north. Nothing fancy. No Wi-Fi. Just heat, water, and a roof. I left my gear at home. Took only a notebook, a coat, and a bag of basics. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. The cabin was small, one room, one bed, and a wood stove that needed constant feeding. No TV, no signal, no distractions. Just quiet. Real quiet. I arrived late afternoon, unpacked in 5 minutes, and sat on the porch with a mug of instant coffee. The air was sharp, cold enough to sting a little. For the first hour, I did nothing. No scrolling, no thinking, no trying to process anything. Then I slept. For 10 hours straight. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a walk through the woods behind the cabin. No trail, just crunching leaves and the sound of branches shifting in the wind. I didn't have a destination. I wasn't hiking. I was just moving forward. At one point, I stopped and sat on a tree stump. Looked around. Nothing but trees and open space. And for the first time in a while, I didn't feel pressure to figure anything out. I didn't owe anyone answers. Not her. Not my family. Not the world. And that's when it hit me. This was the first time in years that I was alone without feeling lonely. I pulled out the notebook I brought. Just a plain one. No structure. No headings. I started writing not about her, or the marriage, or the emails. Just thoughts. Lists. Small questions. What do I want next? What do I need to stop carrying? What do I never want to ignore again? There weren't any big epiphanies. Just space. And honesty. I stayed 2 more nights. Cooked basic food. Chopped wood badly. Burned my hand once on the stove handle. Didn't check the news. Didn't open my laptop. I didn't come back with a plan. I didn't reinvent myself. But something shifted. When I got back home, the first thing I did was unpack everything I'd kept in boxes since leaving the apartment. I didn't keep much, just the essentials. But now, even that felt like too much. I took her old mug out of the cabinet and set it aside. Same with the extra toothbrush. Little things that didn't seem like much at the time, but still had weight. I wasn't bitter. I just didn't want to carry pieces of a life that wasn't mine anymore. That night, I made a new list. Not of what to do, but of what not to go back to. I never answered her message. The one that said, "Did you read it?" There was nothing to say. Nothing worth untangling. She already knew the answer, that's why she asked. After the cabin, I stopped checking her profile. I'd done it a few times before, not to spy or punish myself, just out of habit. But there was nothing new there. Same filtered smiles. Same curated piece. No mention of me. No trace we ever shared a home, a bed, a plan. Good. Let it be clean. I started sleeping better. Not always, but better. I'd wake up before the alarm and just stay in bed, staring at the ceiling. No rush. No weight on my chest. Just stillness. I rented a small place. 1 bedroom, no view, barely enough space to stretch out. But it was mine. Every mug, every spoon, every coat hook, mine. Nothing left over. No shared space to tiptoe around. I didn't decorate much. Just put up 1 photo of my father. He passed away years ago, but the older I get, the more I find myself thinking about the things he never said. The way he carried things without making a scene. How quiet strength isn't loud. It just doesn't leave. I started saying no more often. To things I didn't want to do. People I didn't want to explain myself to. Conversations that weren't worth the wait. Not out of bitterness, just clarity. I rebuilt my routine. Client work in the mornings. Walks after lunch. Camera in hand, but not for pay, just for the habit. Just to look again. Some nights, I'd drive with no music on. Windows cracked. Cold air in my lungs. And I'd think about how much time I'd spent trying to be easy to live with. Low maintenance. Predictable. Safe. I was done with that. She once said she liked me because I was steady. But here's the thing, steady doesn't mean blind. It doesn't mean you carry the full weight while someone else coasts. It doesn't mean silence when something feels off. It doesn't mean comfort at the cost of self-respect. She thought I wouldn't notice. Thought I wouldn't act. She was wrong. Some truths don't come loud. They come slow. Quiet. Like water rising under the floorboards until one day the whole thing sinks. By the time she asked if I'd read her message, it was already too late. The damage wasn't the words. It was the fact that she could write them and still sleep fine. The morning I filed for divorce, there was no dramatic build-up. No confrontation. No final talk. I walked into the office with the documents already filled out. I triple-checked them the night before. No emotion. No second-guessing. Just facts on paper. The woman at the desk looked up, asked if I was sure. I nodded. She didn't push. Just stamped the file and gave me a copy. It took less than 15 minutes. I walked out into the parking lot, sat in the car, and didn't start the engine right away. Just sat. Hands on the wheel. No music. No phone. No expression. Not numb. Just finished. There's no ceremony for moments like this. No closure playlist. No long hug in the rain. Just paperwork, quiet, and a key you don't need anymore. I didn't call anyone after. No need to explain. The people who needed to know already did. The rest? They wouldn't understand anyway. That night, I made dinner at home. Simple stuff, pasta, some chopped vegetables, a bit of leftover chicken. I didn't light candles. Didn't celebrate freedom. Just ate, cleaned the plate, and sat down by the window. I watched cars move along the road below. People going somewhere. Most of them probably didn't even know how close they were to unraveling. How easily the ground can shift under you without warning. But that's life, isn't it? No alarms. No signs. One day you're in it. The routine, the comfort, the familiar, and the next, you're standing in the kitchen reading a message that makes you see everything differently. I didn't hate her. Not even at the end. Hate would have made it easier. Cleaner. But that's not what it was. It was the quiet betrayal. The way she said nothing while I poured everything in. The way she watched me try and let me keep trying, not out of malice, but out of convenience. There's a kind of damage that doesn't come from cruelty. It comes from silence. From someone deciding you're good enough for now and never telling you they checked out months ago. I won't carry that forward. That's the only thing I'm sure of now. No more being the only one rowing the boat. No more building on assumptions. No more chasing the version of myself that's easiest to live with. Next time, if there is one, I'll ask the harder questions. And I'll expect real answers. Because love without clarity isn't love. It's just someone staying until they find an easier way out. And I've already lived that story once. The story ends here, but the conversation is just beginning. What do you think? Let's talk in the comments. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.